Madam President, I just listened to the President, and my heart's still pounding. I was very disappointed to hear what the President just had to say in front of a pep rally. Something very unbecoming of where we are at this moment. It's my understanding that most of the tax issues have been worked out, should have been worked out on the floor in regular order. I think most of the Senate is very distressed that we're in a situation where a negotiation is taking place all of this time and it's not being done through regular order, but that's the way things are today in the Senate. But I just heard the President say that in dealing with the sequester that was put in place to reduce spending, it was part of a $2.1 trillion package to reduce spending so that we could raise the debt ceiling back in August of 2011. No one ever thought we'd end up in this place where the sequester would be enacted, but it was done so that we'd reduce spending. And I notice my friend from Arizona is here, who's been one of the best there is to focus on defense spending and how it should be done, and I know he'd like to see things happen in a very different way in that regard. But I just heard the President say that the way we're going to deal with this sequester is in a balanced way through revenues and through reduced spending. And I just want to go on record here on the Senate floor. I know there are negotiations that are taking place, but the sequester was to be dealt with, substituted with other spending reductions, not through revenues. And I just hope that all those who are involved in bringing this together understand that even on the Democratic side, that was the understanding. And not only was it to be dealt with through spending reductions, if these were considered to be ham-handed, and they are, and we should deal with them in a different way, but they were to be dealt with on the same time period. In other words, we weren't going to reduce $100 billion of the sequester and pay for it over 10 years. It was to be done during the same amount of time. So I know the President has fun heckling Congress. I think he lost probably numbers of votes with what he did. He didn't lose mine. I'm not that way. I'm going to look at the substance. But it's unfortunate that he doesn't spend as much time working on solving problems as he does with campaigns and pep rallies. But I just want to say I'm very disappointed in what the President had to say. And I'm one senator. I just want to go on record that it is absolutely unacceptable to pay for this sequester with revenues. Yesterday we had a meeting that broke down because all the money was being spent. The President campaigned for a year on raising taxes on the upper income. We've acquiesced to that. We know it's going to happen. But yesterday the deal was all the money was going to be spent. There was going to be no deficit reduction. Unbelievable. Unbelievable that all the money was going to be out the door as soon as it came in. Matter of fact, before it came in, it was going to be spent. So, Mr. President, I just want to say, I know the President enjoys heckling and having pep rallies to try to get Congress to act instead of sitting down and actually negotiating. But I hope that what's going to happen is we will end up following through on the reductions in spending that need to take place to replace the sequester. I'll also add, just for what it's worth, that the last time we extended unemployment insurance, we paid for it. The last time we did not cause the doc fix, SGR, to go into place, we paid for it. And I hope that as this negotiation goes forward, we keep the same principles in place that we've had. This country has over $16 trillion in debt. Sequester was put in place because we couldn't reach an agreement on reductions, but we knew they had to take place. And, Mr. President, I hope we will continue to honor the fact that the sequester, the $1.2 trillion, that we don't like the way it's being implemented, will only be adjusted through other reductions. And if that's not the case, count me out. I think most people in this body consider me to be a semi-reasonable person. But if that's not what we do, count me out. This country has a spending problem and a revenue problem. I agree with that. And I'm willing to support revenues to deal with this problem, the overall problem. But what I will not agree to is using revenues to replace spending reductions that were part of the Budget Control Act, that candidly we need further reductions in place to actually get this country where it needs to be. With that, I know we have other senators on the floor. I don't know what their response is to what just happened over at the White House, but I yield the floor.